Hello, we are looking again at Song of Songs, chapter 1, verses 9 through 17. It is Wednesday, June 30th, I believe, 2021. And we are looking at, as I say, chapter 1, verses 9 through 17. The previous verses showed us Solomon and his fiancée, the Shulamite woman, and she was pursuing him. She was of a lower class, raised to be his love, to join him in his life, join him in the paradise of being a queen of Israel. And she pursues him at the end of the passage leading into this. At first, she's looked at by the others as being an outsider, but once the king chooses her, they are delighted in his love for her, because they see the great joy that he has in her, and so she becomes a part of their community. These are the young virgins, the young ladies who are around. So we go to chapter 1, verse 9. And I'll use the translation done by this commentary. Okay. To a mare among the chariots of Pharaoh, I liken you, my friend. To a female horse, a mare, among the chariots of Pharaoh. Normally you would expect there to be stallions pulling the chariots. This is a beautiful mare, a beautiful woman who is in the midst of the war and military, in the midst of all of this. Here is this sprightly, delightful mare. And so the image is one of beauty and grace and power, the image of a mare. But the image is also an unexpected one, that the mare is among the armies. And in a sense, the mare is having conquest by her beauty, her grace, her power, by the fact that she is a delight. She brings about a peacefulness and a conquest to the situation. Rather than the chariots which run over people and are grisly and cause destruction and woe and wrath, the Shulamite woman conquers by her beauty, conquers by her femininity, conquers by being a mare. Now, it says, I liken you, my friend. This is the king, Solomon, speaking to the Shulamite woman. You've conquered by this, and now he says, my friend. So that doesn't put her my servant, that puts her into this context of being with him a friend, an equal, not someone who's put down. David and Jonathan, friends, right? He likens her, this beautiful, to his friend. She is delightful to him. He doesn't look on her as lowly, as lesser. She is a part of this wonderful marriage that they have. Okay? If we look at this as Christ and the church, which is raised by Christ to be beautiful and wonderful and made beautiful by Christ, is put out into the world of war, and it marches to war how? Through love and peace, through the sharing of the beautiful gifts of God, word and sacrament. The church is a mare. It's a mare which brings Jesus to the world through the beautifulness that is instilled in it by Christ. And again, Christ takes the church and takes it from being lowly and makes it a part of him, his friend. We are once and always disciples, but now we are brothers and sisters. And so we don't have to think of ourselves as inferior. God doesn't think of us that way. He thinks of us as friend. Going on to verse 10. Comely are your cheeks with bangles, your neck with necklaces. So comely, beautiful. Normally, the groom gives to the bride gifts. This is the tradition in Israel at the time. Sometimes to the family too, but to the bride. So he adorns her so that she can be beautiful, so that when the world sees her, when the people see her, they see how much he loves her. And they look at her and they think she's glorious. And he says, I'm looking at you and I put these, and boy, are you glorious. It's like when my wife came in and she was wearing her wedding dress, she was glorious. And Christ looks at the church the same way. He's put upon us these great gifts, the gifts of his body and blood, of baptism, of his word and forgiveness. And how beautiful those gifts look on us, how they make the church beautiful in the eyes of everyone who sees it, as we express the gifts of God. So comely are your cheeks with bangles. They sometimes would have things they'd wear on their head, and they'd have little coin type things hanging down. Okay, so that's kind of probably the image. Your neck with necklaces. We're not sure exactly what the necklaces look like. Now, it shifts in the translation to say they, because it went from a first person singular subject to a second person. Okay, or I'm sorry, a plural subject. A plural subject, right? And so the translator of this, and I think appropriately, believes the next line is said by the young virgins, the women of Israel. And they say, bangles of gold we will make for you with spangles of silver. So if we look at the other women as the church, in the history, we look at them as the other women of Israel, and they're very glad because Solomon is happy, and this woman, the Shulamite woman, is making him happy. They're not jealous here. They see the beauty Christ has given. They see the beauty Solomon has given. And their response is they want to multiply that beauty. But they want to do their best to make this marriage as wonderful and delightful as it can be. As glorious in the sight of everybody as it is in the sight of Solomon, as it is in the sight of Christ. And so they want to make other gifts to give to this beautiful bride. You know, we have that tradition of something old, something blue, something borrowed, something new, to add to the wedding, because we all want to have this be a part of this glorious day and have this day be really glorious for the wedding couple. Okay? So they're giving gifts to her to make her even more glorious. And in the church, we should be giving gifts to one another to make each other even more glorious. Yes, we love it when we see someone going through confirmation and banners are created and feasts are given downstairs, and we all joy in this great event. Or baptisms. What joy there is when a baptism occurs. And we want to give and have gifts so that this baptism is a beautiful thing, well received, an acknowledgement of Christ's love, and show to the whole world how wonderful Christ's love is. Okay? So now we move to the Shulamite woman speaking. We're moving now to actually being married. We went from the first two verses which talk about marriage, and then we go to kind of the pursuit and how she catches Solomon, has to go and pursue him where he's at. Now we come to the actual consummation to the marriage. Okay? By verse 16, they will be at the consummation. Now they're at the wedding feast. They're getting close to the consummation. So the Shulamite woman speaks. While the king is on his couch, and the couch here is an intentionally ambiguous, perhaps. It can either mean a reclining couch for eating or a reclining couch for sleeping. It can be a reclining couch used in feasting, or it can be a reclining couch used when you go to sleep at night. While the king is on his couch, my nard gives off its fragrance. Nard here is perfume. It's just the type of perfume. And often women of the time would wear a sachet of perfume or other things that would give fragrance, give a nice smell throughout the day. Okay? They didn't have you know, what do you call it? Stuff you put on yourself so you don't stink. So they would wear perfume in bags or sachets to give off fragrance. She goes on with this theme in 13. A sachet of myrrh is my lover to me. So it's always with me. It's something that's with me. Now, let me go on with this. Between my breasts, it or he spends the night. Again, this is poetry, and it's being intentionally ambiguous. It can mean either that she has her perfume between her breasts, this wonderful nard, this myrrh, and there is a perfume that at the time there was myrrh mixed with nard in kind of an oil. Anyway, giving off this beautiful scent, and it's always there with her through the night, giving off this scent so that she smells nice throughout the entire wedding feast into the ending of the wedding. Or, by ambiguity, it could mean that the he, meaning the king on the couch, is spending his whole time nestled with her. And probably the intention of the song is to mean both, to let you think both things, that both the fragrance is there always with her, and the king, it's the wedding night, it's the feast leading up to the wedding night. He's always with her. He wants to snuggle with her the entire time. He can't get enough of being in contact with her, in her presence. And let me read the 14th verse, and then we'll talk about this a little bit. A cluster of henna flowers is my lover to me in the vineyards of En-gedi. En-gedi means the goat spring, the place where goats drink. It was also the place where David hid, and he spared the life of Saul. Okay, so it has some significance. En-gedi has significance in the past history of Solomon's family. So a cluster of henna flowers, another beautiful scent, is my lover to me. So my lover, Solomon the king, is to me the filling, wonderful aroma, the filling, wonderful aroma of flowers, of henna flowers. It just fills me up and makes me feel great joy, and I can't get enough of the beauty of those flowers. And then it goes on, using the vineyards of En-gedi. So the flowers, Solomon is like beautiful flowers. As I was working in a vineyard, I'd come on these flowers, and they would bring joy in the heat of the day, and they would relieve me from the burden that I was incurring, and they would give me strength to go on, and it would refresh me and give life to me in a time when it was hard and difficult. So perhaps she worked in En-gedi, we don't know. Okay? So anyway, let's go through this whole section then. So you have the king reclining on a couch, probably at feast, but also perhaps later into the bower. Then you have the bride wearing beautiful perfume to keep the air fresh and clean. And the king finds her so attractive, he can't leave her side. He has to be with her all the time. And she finds him and his closeness, his scent, to be so attractive that it's kind of life-giving, and it reminds her of good among any ill. Here it is. Here is my thing which makes it easy to go through and continue on in life, to continue through all the hardship, because I know better is yet to come. Okay? So we can look at this as the reality of a husband and wife married and getting married. I know when I first married my wife, I always wanted to be in her presence. I still want to be in her presence. Okay, but you know, newly married couples, they dote on one another. But then it also looks to Christ and the church. And as you come into the faith, as you realize the beauty of what you have been given, you always want to be near, and it fills you with life that you're near, and Christ is always there with you. He says, lo, I am with you always to the end of the age, but he keeps giving us opportunities to have him close. Whether it's a Bible study, a chance to fellowship in the church, but baptism and communion, again and again. The divine service where he comes to you in word, where he gives you forgiveness, where he comes to you in song and in his very love. He always wants to be close. And so he is with the church always, filling it up with his beautiful scent, his forgiveness, as I say, his cleansing of us, and his scent which makes life worth living, which brings us out of the dryness and the dirt of the world to look on the reality of the glory which is about to be, and the great gift, the great wonderful celebration that is about to occur. Which leads us back to the voice of Solomon in verse 15. Behold, you are beautiful, my friend. Behold, you are beautiful. Your eyes are doves. Okay? Wedding feast, but what is the king noting? This woman is my wife. Wow! What does Christ note? This church is mine. Wow! What wonderful people I have. You're so beautiful, my friend. This relationship is now permanent. We're not going to break apart. We're friends. We can now love each other and care for each other and look out for each other's interests. Christ, I can now love you and care for you and look out for your interests. And now you can look out for my interests because you have become a part of me. Now you can act in love toward your neighbor because you're part of me. Because you're looking out for the interest of Christ, which is the interest of taking care of the whole world, right? Okay, but behold, you are beautiful, my friend, says Jesus of the church. Behold, you are beautiful, my friend, says the husband to his wife. It closes with, your eyes are doves. Now, the dove is one of those images which certainly shows up in Scripture commonly. We should most note its use when the Holy Spirit takes the form of a dove and comes down. An image of peace and of approval, an image of God's peace to the world. Well, we started out talking about this section, talking about her as a mare among the weapons of war. Somehow she's bringing out peace. Now this image comes back with doves. Her eyes, which, we call them the windows to the soul. Jesus says you look upon the eyes and you see the man, right? You see the inside of the man. You see who the man is. The eyes of the woman are these beautiful, active, wonderful doves. This peace-giving bird, this very attractive and nice and soft. The woman delights Solomon when he meets her eyes. The church delights Christ when he looks upon her eyes. When he sees the way she views the world with compassion, care. When he sees the way that the church desires good for other people who aren't part of the church and for those who are in the church. And so, why is this woman so beautiful? It's because when the king looks into her eyes, he sees not just the outward physical beauty, which is great, but that inward beauty, her personality, who she is, her character. And the same goes with Christ as he looks upon this beautiful people he has created as his own. She responds. This is the Shulamite woman. Behold, you are beautiful, my lover. So she returns the same compliment to him that he just did a double on. Behold, you are beautiful, my lover. He calls her my friend. She calls him my lover. He emphasizes that she has been brought up into a relationship that's even. She emphasizes that he is the one who has given to her the gift of love, that has made of her one who can receive love and who receives love. The king has brought the peasant up to be a queen, his friend. The queen has now been given the opportunity to live in a life of love with the king, away from kind of that situation, the bad situation she had with her brothers, as they were using her for gaining of wealth. Now she's in a place where the king loves her so much that he's created a place where she can receive that love, that delightful gift, which reaches the marriage consummation. Right? The whole of the marriage, the pursuit, and then the being married, and then the feast. This is all love given. But it does climax. It has a point when it is shown physically and in reality, and that's the last part. Truly our bed is verdant, a growing place. Truly we come together as husband and wife, and it is a place where I grow in love with you and you grow in love with me. Now, the commentary I have wants to emphasize this isn't always verdant here. Could mean children, and that is a delightful gift of love, but it doesn't have to mean that in this context. What it does mean is that when a husband and wife are together in love, that relationship is always one which grows love, which grows actions of service to self, to other, and to community, which causes more love to exist, right? Truly our bed is verdant, meaning when we come together, it's not just that we satisfy ourselves, but we grow in love together. We become closer and more unified. And this is why the virgins are so delighted to give gifts and encourage this on. Because the result of the love of Solomon and his bride is that the whole kingdom is blessed. And the result of the love of Christ to the church is not only is the church blessed, but everyone around is blessed as the church and Christ share love back and forth with one another. It's verdant. It produces growth, green growth, out throughout the world. And it closes with, in our section we're looking at, the rafters of our houses are cedars, our canopy, junipers. So probably an image of the palace of the king, which was made out of cedar, but it gives an impression of the whole world. Notice it's houses, not just house. We have this vast place, vast enough for anyone to be here. Now, this doesn't imply that people are there at the night of the marriage. That's not what it's saying. But it's saying that the love that comes out of this marriage, which climaxed at this night, but then proceeds apace and continues to have, this growth. This goes out to the whole world. This is big enough for the whole world. This is shared with everyone. And the love of Solomon and his wife is good enough for the whole kingdom of Israel. It is good for the whole kingdom. The love of Christ for the church for Christ, is the salvation of the world. It is how God shares out his love with others. We will close there.